As usual, we go broadcast live on a few different platforms, so it takes about a minute or so for all of them to sync up. In the meantime, hang tight, and once we're live, everyone will officially get started. Great, Shelby got the link, so it's perfect. Okay, so we're gonna go live on our platforms here. Great. Okay. So we're now officially going to get started today. All right. Welcome back to Coach Connect. Here's where we explore the stories and strategies and insights from trailblazers who are transforming the world of coaching and well-being. What drives your success? What fuels your passion for helping others? We're here to uncover their secrets and share them with you. This show is brought to you by Vibely.io, the all-in-one coaching platform designed to empower coaches with tools, resources, and support they need to thrive and help their clients achieve meaningful, long-lasting growth. I'm Dr. Diego Salinas, your guide on this journey. As a neuroscientist, physician, and health coach, and co-founder of Vibely, I'm committed to celebrating the incredible work of coaches everywhere and helping them unlock their full potential. So together, let's dive in deep into what makes coaching a powerful force of change. Today's guest, Shelby, is a senior manager coach at the Headspace Training Institute, a national board certified health and wellness coach and functional medicine certified health coach. She began her Ginger and Headspace career in behavioral health coach in 2019, and worked as a senior course facilitator at the Functional Medicine Coach Academy from 2016 to 2021. Shelby developed and now leads the Headspace Training Institute mental health coach training program, which is an approved health and wellness coach training and educational program by the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaching. She recently completed her master's education in higher education and graduate certificate in social justice education from the University of Massachusetts Amherst. At Headspace, Shelby is also co-leader of the Women Plus ERG, the care team, non-BIPOC affinity group, and small group facilitator for the Purpose Team's dynamic leading pathways, which provides the continuous learning needed to build a diverse and inclusive organization. She's also leading a multifaceted project at Headspace as a culmination of her graduate studies that provides reentry pathways for justice impact individuals into careers at Headspace and meditation mindfulness support to returning citizens. She's passionate about coaching, training people in fundamental coaching skills for career life, mental holistic health, and dismantling systemic health inequities, and helping people self-discover their strengths, purpose, and self-worth. Shelby, thanks so much for being our guest today.
Thank you, Diego. It's so great to be here.
For all our guests, we may have a second surprise guest coming midway through the episode, so stay tuned for that. So today's gonna be a little different episode than we normally do. So normally kind of first dive deep into someone's background story, but for everyone listening, stay tuned for next week because Shelby's gonna be back next week talking more about that. But today we're gonna really focus on this collaborative effort that we're involved in and how to have coaches and therapists give back. And so I kind of joined a little bit later on as I heard about this. So the event is called Healing Spaces. And Shelby, I'd love to learn from you kind of how this event started, where was the inception of this idea, and how it kind of grew before I was involved in the project.
Yeah, thank you, Diego. And you didn't start too long after. It was really kind of a very organic grassroots collaboration of just humans, right, who live in the Los Angeles area as well as on the East Coast like you. And that were really moved to support people who were impacted by the wildfires in Los Angeles that occurred in January. And so, really, I think about a week after the fires had happened, I saw a post on LinkedIn by Dr. Anna Tavis, who is the department chair at NYU School of Professional Services and clinical professor of human capital management. And she was just, really sharing her compassion for people impacted, and we kind of had a similar idea. So I reached out to her that weekend, and I think we were both thinking about like how could we help coaches provide pro bono services to support people impacted by the wildfires. And so we just Dr. Tavis is amazing, and she just quickly formed a little tiger team, so to speak, and she brought us together that very next week, and we just started talking about how could we do this and how could we develop a volunteer coaching corps that might serve anyone impacted by a natural disaster in our country. So that's how it started, and I think you came on shortly after. And really, Dr. Tavis, I think, was connected with Tanya at the Kindness Hub, which was again another grassroots. I mean, just to see in Los Angeles what happened, what sprung up by just people who wanted to give back was really inspiring. I live in Southern California, just south of LA, and Headspace, who I work for, has a headquarters in Santa Monica. So we were very moved as an organization too to support the residents of LA. So I think that's kind of how it came together very quickly and organically.
Yeah, kind of combination of what think globally, act locally, right? Like
Yes.
this, a lot
Yeah.
of
Hmm.
global people really think, how can we help local communities out? Sounds like it came from that. Sometimes tragedies or things that are tough, just like a natural wildfire out of the ashes, sometimes something blooms from there, right? And people come
Hmm.
together and realize um, how can we support in a way, we want to give. What can we do to with our
Yeah.
resources there? And sounds like Anna, and you're right, she's gonna be on our podcast later on.
Hmm.
Amazing person, and we'll all be at the conference this summer, the NYU Coaching Technology Conference. But
Yeah.
when I found out about it, I was trying to figure out how we can do more as Valley gives back, because I
Hmm.
think a lot of coaches or providers have seen this, where a lot of coaches want to give, want to
Yeah.
support.
Hmm.
I've always thought, I see so much people wanting to give. How can we use what we built to connect that as well, right? To connect all levels of care and support, and how that might
Yeah.
show up. And while I was trying to search for, hey, who can I connect who also wants to give, kind of through networking, found out about this event. I was like, this sounds perfect. I'm really curious. And then yeah, the collaboration has been formed, and there was both an in-person event, and now we're doing the virtual event. And I'll
Hmm.
be honest with you, I don't know as much. I know it already passed about the in-person event. Shelby, do you have any insights on that to share with the audience, and kind of then we can talk about how they're combined or connected?
Yeah, so we again, this just kind of happened in January, and we first wanted to do something like right away, like what can we do in the next week or two to help people, and then we realized the needs are going to be there for quite some time. There's a lot of support that came forth immediately in following the tragic wildfires, and that continues in LA also, but historically a lot of times support kind of wanes, right, after
Mhm.
a few months. And so we thought, let's slow down and try to just do this right. And realizing that, again, those needs will always be there. And especially with mental health, that can be so much impacted by something like this. We know that those needs will continue to be there for quite some time, even longer. And in that initial offerings of support, again, will help fill what people need, but then we can fulfill the needs in a couple months. So we started planning and pushing it back to like April. So on April 5th, we had a live in-person event in Los Angeles at the Zulu Den, who generously donated their facility for us to have some very healing spaces of meditation and yoga and just connection. And so that was our live event. And now we're doing the virtual event on Sunday, April 27th from 12 to 3 p.m. Pacific, where we are going to be providing coaching, listening, and therapy for anyone impacted by the wildfires, any LA resident. Well, maybe you want to talk about that. But yeah, so yeah, we thought offering the live event and virtual, of course, we can reach more people, which is our goal.
Yeah, and Shelby, that reminds me of also when I was in medical school, we did a few mission trips abroad for medical mission help,
Hmm.
and we had this discussion before also during that time. Was like, are we doing a band-aid or doing long-term solutions, right? And kind of how
Yeah.
much is it that because we want to help, but what's the impact we're having, and making sure we're leaving it better than we found it, right? And
Yes.
then throughout the discussion, it was saying, okay, well, in person is such a wonderful opportunity. The connection we have when we're synchronous with
Hmm.
someone in the same room, That's the highest level of connection we have as human beings, being in
Yes.
physical presence, literally touching or connecting,
Mhm.
right?
Definitely.
And we said, there's, like you mentioned, it's not a one-time event. I mean, the event
Mhm.
is one time, but the repercussions are a transition,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? Whether your
Mhm.
physical environment has changed, those of you affected are going through mental struggles, right? And so we said maybe Viably can support the kind of virtual event and kind of more this continuous care that might happen afterwards. So maybe
Mhm.
the in-person or the first virtual event is a touch point,
Mhm.
introduction,
Yes.
but we know change takes time,
Mhm.
and it's a process to, I mean, after you go through something so big, right? So can we create a space that not only is the initial place of connection, but fosters that long-term kind of full cycle, right, from start
Right.
to end of a kind of relationship with a coach or a therapist, so that people can
Mhm.
not just feel the immediate rush of support when someone's there, but not feel that lack of, well, where did it all go after
Yeah.
3 weeks?
Mhm. Right. And I think that's what's so great about how this partnership with Vibely to help produce this virtual event is so meaningful because Vibely is providing the platform of connection for the providers, so the volunteer coaches and therapists, to be able to register and get connected with the clients, the people who are in need of services, very easily. And just so grateful for the partnership there, just the ease of logistics for that, because that would be just a great obstacle. I'm not sure how we would have overcome that. But yeah, so it's gonna, and I just really appreciate how Vibely is very focused on connection, community, bringing people together, coaches on the platform so they can learn from each other outside of this event, and then connecting, people who need coaching but can't afford it, because that's something I think, like as you said, a lot of coaches that we know and want to give back, right? We want to make coaching accessible to everyone. It should be accessible to everyone. And this is one way we can do that.
Yeah. Well, Shelby, you guys led the way with I remember, for if I correct if I'm wrong here, but Headspace was donating 6 months free to LA
Hmm.
residents from the
Yes.
resources, right? So kind of everyone had said, what can we offer? What can we bring to the table? You have these great resources that are on demand, be available. Kind of galvanized the workforce there at Headspace, the coaches and therapists, and I was like, I've been building this platform for a while to be flexible and have a lot of use cases kind of from big to small. And so this I want to thank the engineering team from all the
Hmm.
months of my
Yeah,
persistence
thank
of
you.
saying, well, we should make it more flexible. We should do these cases that aren't as common, but could still be helpful, because I wanted to
Hmm.
help really be surprised by how people can use a platform, right? I want to be surprised by the
Right.
creativity
Hmm.
that's fostered through these kind of tools, right? And this is to me one of the first big examples. So um, it's really the collaborative effort, right? The Anna put the team together, Tanya working over
Hmm.
and NYU, Erinn, which may come on the platform later, people from Healing Spaces locally who I had a chance to meet,
Hmm.
too many names to kind of mention all in one go, but really
Yeah.
it was, how can we all brainstorm together on these long calls, like, all right, Howard, and quick. I mean, everyone from these big organizations really did a lot in a short amount of time.
Hmm. Yeah, they really did. Melissa at NYU, NYU's just been so supportive and, so far away, right? Removed from Los Angeles, but really wanting to help. And Dr. Tavis, just really jumped right in and found people to help within her program. And yeah, we have coaches from NYU's executive coaching program who are providing their services, coaches at Headspace and therapists at Headspace. We invite other providers, if you're out there and want to provide pro bono services at this event, we welcome you, and we have links for that. And I am glad that you mentioned that Headspace is offering 6 months free of the Headspace app through July 31st to all residents of LA. So we'll provide that link as well.
Great. Yeah. And I put some of these links in if anyone's watching on LinkedIn, these links are on the bottom of the description. They're just updated before the episode. We'll make sure they're on our other social media platforms as well. It also includes, actually, before we talk to link, maybe I'm curious about how clients can understand this, right? People in
Mhm.
LA, maybe who may be listening. And I would say, I think we had this discussion of not just those necessarily affected in firsthand, but also those who support them.
Mm-hmm.
right? Coming
Yeah.
from medical background, I see a lot of caregiver burnout, that vicarious trauma people sometimes can can store, right? And supporting someone is takes a lot. It's a beautiful thing, but it can
Right.
take a lot too. So just want to say, even if you weren't directly
Mhm.
affected, but
Yeah.
it affects you in some way, a friend or family that you're supporting is going
Right.
through that.
Anyone.
You're a first
Absolutely.
responder who's going through,
Hmm.
who was there in any way that if this can make a difference, we're here
Yeah.
to support everyone.
Right. It's virtually everybody in Los Angeles. I mean,
Yeah,
really. I mean,
yeah.
probably and a little further, but anyone who lives in Los Angeles was impacted by these fires and will be for quite some time. And
Mm,
I was really inspired early on, and I regret I don't know this young man's name, but there was an article about him, a resident of Pacific Palisades, and how he, as a teenager, started and just literally set up like a listening table, kind of listening booth in his front yard. And he's done this like every week for a couple of years, I believe, and he would just listen to people.
mm,
And it just really struck me, in coaching, we know 95% of coaching is listening, right? Really
mhm.
listening to understand another person. And I thought, yeah, people, I think, may need just somebody to listen to them, right? And to make them feel seen and heard in such a tumultuous time. So, yeah, that was really inspiring. And so, yes, please come to our event on the 27th. Even if you don't know what coaching is or want a coach or therapy, just if you want somebody just to listen to your story, we will be there and we want to hear and we want to see you.
Yeah, yeah. So anyone, that's a good point. Because even if your house wasn't affected, it happened in your community,
Mhm.
right? You're worried about it.
Yeah.
Those things do can take a toll if not addressed, right? And
Yeah.
so, um, and the power of listening, kind of I remember the in-person event they were talking about this idea of like just holding a space to listening circles,
Mhm.
support circles,
Yeah.
right? So our goal for the virtual event is to there'll be like a kind of general homeroom, so to speak, where we'll do introductions, but the ability
Mhm.
for providers to have breakout rooms, right? So whether they want to
Right.
provide, if you're a provider listening, whatever feels authentic to you, right? Are you someone who
Mhm.
wants to talk about meditation or stress management or just hold a healing space? People have done. You want to be able for one-on-one consultations for coaching or therapy, right? Whatever feels right to
Mhm.
you. And I'll say also, if people are interested in getting support but can't make it that day, that's okay.
Mhm.
The whole
Yeah,
point is
that's
that this
true.
is just like a big touch point. But if you, the next day is best for you, the day before, still sign
Mhm.
up, through the links as a if you're
Yes.
interested in support, and we'll make the connections before
Mhm.
or afterwards.
Yeah, and what's great too about the Vibely platform partnership with this event is that yes, you can receive listening or coaching or therapy at the event, and if you want additional sessions, you can continue that. And Vibely is going to make that really easy to do. So yeah, excited
Yeah.
about that.
And maybe we'll talk now about the kind of provider side too. So, for any
Mhm.
clients, we kind of the links are there, how to sign up or learn more. In general, you can always email Diego@vibe.io, support@vibe.io. There's some
Mhm.
links in there as well. How we can support you, let us know. The if in terms of for the providers who are curious, right? To
Yeah.
clarify, you don't have to be a Headspace coach. You don't have to be a Vibe. Anyone who wants to support. This is a collaboration of giving back. That we're all doing it because we just want to support communities, right?
Mhm.
So if you're interested, there's a link there on how to register through Vibely to be part of the event. Um, just letting everyone know there's a discount code that's different today from normally. So if you put in Healing Spaces 20 to register
Mhm.
for that event, we'll know that you want to sign up and know more about that. So put that discount code Healing Spaces 20. It's in the
Mhm.
link in the description there. When you register, everyone gets 30 days free automatically. So the event is in 10 days. So it definitely covers that. But I want to clarify. Viably is going to donate HIPAA compliant servers for as long as you and the people you meet on that event,
Mhm.
or plus or minus a few days, will work together, right? So you have 30 days free to sign on, but you find a client and you're supporting them with a 6 session package,
Mhm.
right? It might take a month or two because of scheduling. Don't worry, let us know. If you're using it just for this purpose, Viably is donating all the services there for free. If you then want to stay on afterwards because you find it helpful, we're giving you a 20% discount because to kind of thank you for giving back and how it can support those who are really doing good in the community, right?
Yeah.
So to clarify, open for everyone. The more people there will also know that you're curious about maybe donating or volunteering in the future as well, right? So this is
Mhm.
the first of hopefully many events. And before I go on, I'll pause there. Anything else, Shelby, to add on from there? Because I want to do maybe some ideas for the future too here.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, like you said, please sign up for the event if you're a provider who's interested in providing pro bono services. Maybe not at this event if you're not available, but we can connect you to other events in the future, and maybe clients that come to the event that would like additional support at a different time. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And so to that point, I want to open it up for anyone listening who's like, oh, I know someone in need. I know a community in need, or I know some
Mhm.
providers, right? So this is again a first example we want to continue to bring to the world is this collaborative efforts. Have different resources. I have a platform and software, right? But if you know anyone in need, I tell people it could be as big a city as LA. It could also
Mhm.
be a reading book club at your local library with four people who are supporting each other.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right? It does not need, just like coaching does not need to have a diagnosis. Giving back doesn't need to have a acuity
Mhm.
level. Doesn't have to, a
Yeah.
size. If anyone can be supported, the nice thing that Bobby's trying to foster is the variety and diversity of coaches. And I mean that in every single way. The topics we
Mhm.
cover, the languages spoken, the where we come from, what we're focusing on,
Yeah.
right? So because of that breadth of areas of focus and interest in the providers. If you're listening and you have a nonprofit, you know people who be supported. And again, support does not have to come from those who are only going through tragedies,
Mhm.
right? Maybe you're doing a local mentoring for high school kids or college kids to help career transition.
Mhm.
Like anyone you want to support, right? Um,
Right.
Let us know. Contact Vibely. My email diego@vibely.io. Put in Vibely gives back in the subject line. We actually even have a partnership page on our website. I'll probably put that link there too, where people can say, "Hey, I'm part of a nonprofit or organization. We want to partner up." You can fill the form out, and we'll contact you. So really, I
Mhm.
hope this is an idea to open the doors up for people to give us ideas of how we can support. So if you are a community or someone who knows a community need,
Mhm.
please reach out and give us your creative ideas, see how we can come up with a solution together.
Yeah, absolutely. First responders, people who may live outside of Los Angeles. Maybe you live on the East Coast too, but you're supporting a family or friend in Los Angeles who has been impacted. Please, you're welcome to join our event too, to provide, receive coaching, therapy, or simply a listening human who just really cares and wants to hear and see you and get to know you.
Yeah, that's beautifully said, right? Like I think if you to come with it with curiosity. Some people say, "Well, I don't know what
Mhm.
coaching is, I don't know what therapy is." No one's forcing anyone to sign up for
Right.
anything. It's this place to learn more about certain things,
Yeah.
right? And the nice thing about the coaching paradigm is that compared to other health paradigms, you don't just dive in. You first make a connection.
Hmm.
Let's see
Yeah.
if we're a good fit. Let's learn about coaching. It's kind of maybe hard to explain or understand until you experience it. So
Hmm.
it's you're just curious to explore. And speaking of first
Hmm.
responders, actually know my co-founder talked to a coach today who's also a therapist, and his new
Hmm.
focus on helping police officers, for example.
Hmm.
Right. So we have
Hmm.
people who specialize in, or shift workers, right? Or so
Yeah.
anyone we can support. Again, you don't have to commit to something. The whole point is just to offer resources, whether now is a good time or in the future may be a good time.
Hmm. Right. And coaching is really like we were saying, mostly listening and helping people to feel seen, heard, to tell their story. There's so much power in telling our story, whatever that story might be. We all have multiple, so many stories that we bring to the world and to ourselves, and but just really holding space for people to talk about what's on their mind that day, what they've been through, what they need. Um, we don't tell anyone what to do, right? We're not
Yeah.
directive as coaches. It's very different than sports coaching, or I think people do have a lot of who haven't maybe experienced coaching, especially health coaching or mental health coaching, might not understand fully what it is all about, but it's about helping you to discover your strengths and to really amplify those and use those to achieve any small behavior changes you might want to make in your life to increase your health and well-being and overcome obstacles in your life. So yeah, but just really just want to provide that space for people who've been impacted by these tragic fires to just have someone to talk to and really
Yeah.
just be listened to.
People say food is medicine, but community is medicine too,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
And speaking of community, we have
Thank
joining us,
you.
as I mentioned, our extra guest here, Erinn. Um, and we're just kind of wrapping up talking about what coaching is. I want to introduce you and then get your perspectives on some things as well. And I will also mention to those who want to give, we have gift cards on Viably too. I'll mention that episode so you
Oh
can, if you're
yeah.
not sure, but you do want support in some way, we have ability people to support financially to help lower barriers as well. So, Erinn, I'm gonna go ahead and do a little quick introduction for you. I mentioned you early in the episode that you might be hopping on, and thank you for being so flexible and making this work.
Well, hello, and thank you so much for the invitation to join. It's wonderful to be with you both and with everyone who's listening in.
Yeah, so I'm gonna read quickly Erin's bio, but she has a lot to cover as well. So it's a very high view, but so Erinn Chan is a well-being specialist, holistic consultant, and executive coach, guiding individuals, executives, and teams through dynamic experiences, transformative growth, and optimal well-being. Across 20 years, she has conducted more than 35,000 client sessions, including over 8,000 virtually, developing a rare expertise that delivers deep insights, information, and inspiration. Erinn integrates holistic strategies with professional wellness to elevate the workspace and enrich the workday. As a founder of multiple wellness based businesses, she has supported thousands of individuals, teams, and organizations in aligning well being with performance to access their highest potential and thrive sustainably. Erinn, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction.
Yeah, so Erinn, we were kind of just talking, we kind of went over a little bit how this event kind of started, and Shelley mentioned that Anna had reached out to Anna Tavis, and this kind of started. Curious from your perspective, maybe if we even backtrack a little bit, how you got involved with this kind of
Mhm.
giving back collaborative, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Yeah, thank you for bringing Dr. Anna into the conversation as well. So she reached out to me in the effort of creating some sort of a collective of
Mhm.
coaches who might be able to offer their support on a volunteer basis to people who are in need. And this was shortly after the LA wildfire event. And I think that was the catalyst for activating this effort within her network, which is very broad. And I was fortunate to be a part of that. And from there, we established this concept of creating a core of volunteers, so coaching core kind
Mhm.
of concept. And this was our sort of pilot or initial initiative in collaborating together. And um, it's been an organic process of um, creating a community to provide support or to offer space for
Mhm.
our greater community that is based in the impacted area. And our hope is to establish a system of being able to offer that support in
Mhm.
a really organized and efficient way to reach those who need it the most
Mhm.
as quickly and effectively as possible. So, being very accessible and very inclusive to everybody who is interested in receiving this type of support.
Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you, Aaron, for that background. And yeah, creating a system that's flexible by nature, right? Because each situation is going to be different, whether it's a um, event or disastrous event, or just a community that has different needs or different language, different cultures, right? That's all going to be different. So the goal is how do we build in flexibility into to quick action, right? And I gotta say, this has been really a dream come true because I've always said I hear so many awesome ideas from coaches, I hear so many of them have great ideas, but we're kind of siloed out. We're by ourselves, or we, or even if we were working somewhere else, there's different rules we have to follow, or limitations or structures, right? And so I've always thought, can I create a space where all these awesome ideas I hear coaches talking about, it can actually happen?
Mm.
And so this is to me like an example of all these ideas that coaches are bringing up and providers are bringing up. And instead of just being ideas, it's happening. It's happening.
It is indeed. And you mentioned about certain like protocols and rules to follow. And it's interesting how when we have the opportunity to create and respond to all the creativity, such as what you hear about and ideas, we can find a balance between establishing infrastructure that becomes a conduit through which to disseminate all the talent and all that creativity, and do it in a really efficient and organized way so that it does reach the people who need it. And at the same time, keep that infrastructure designed intentionally and mindfully in order to allow for the organic flow, to allow for the responsiveness, and to avoid any like prohibitive or confining or even kind of obstructive parameters. So I feel like as we've discovered our way together, one of the discoveries is how to create some necessary framework and some necessary infrastructure, and at the same time allow for that freedom of the creativity and the responsiveness to unfold.
Yeah. And one thing we talked about a little bit earlier too, curious your insights here, is that actually I'll put a new spin on this. So we mentioned that it's not only for people who feel directly affected, but anyone who's affected in general. Maybe they're supporting someone who has gone through that, they're a first responder. But I actually want to amplify maybe the previous discussion, Shelby. I just had this idea is that sometimes you have things that you've been thinking out before an event, and an event puts life into perspective. All right. So I'm thinking for our last episode, Miriam, our chief marketer, was our guest, and she mentioned when she went through a loss in the family. Before that, she was feeling something was different. She was doing well at work, but there was something that was under the surface. Something was there. This loss, she was able to, afterwards, she was able to kind of recover and be good at work. But that internal feeling was really obvious now, and a change. She knew a change needed to happen. So I also want to say that even if this event didn't affect you, but it kind of because it opened up your eyes, like, hey, you know what? There's something I'm kind of curious about working on. I'm kind of curious to explore something, right? That sometimes these things are catalysts to that thing that was kind of under the surface or future growth. So we were talking before you came, Erinn, about kind of what coaching is, which is I think a really hard thing to define. But to me, it's just it's a forward momentum, feeling unstuck. You're a little more in the driver's seat. Curious if you can speak to any of this, Erinn. I have an analogy I heard recently I want to share with the team. But anything you want to share on that perspective, Erinn?
It's interesting. I just returned from the Masters in Augusta, watching the golf tournament there, and so it's also kind of creating a forefront of coaching in a certain light, because that of course is a very specific form of coaching that that people are involved with in that profession, that industry. And it really is about accessing your greatest potential. And so whether the application of coaching is quite literally sports specific, or whether it is coaching through a professional dynamic, or whether it is coaching within the circumstances of a personal life situation, the common thread is about accessing our highest potential. What is our optimal contribution to life around us? What is the most potent expression of our own talents and gifts and offerings? And how are we going to honor them and share them? So that encapsulates a little bit of, I think, my perspectives there about coaching generally.
That was beautiful, and we heard Shelby's kind of word. What I love hearing, because it's such a the phrase I was reminded of, because I think coaching is such a hard thing to pin down until you experience it. And there's a quote that I might start using more often. It's by a musician. His name was Frank Zappa, and he was interviewed, and someone was talking about. He goes, "Listen, talking about music is like dancing about architecture."
Mhm.
He's like, you're not gonna fool. You're right, and I think there's something there too that, we're talking earlier in the episode, Erinn, about people who are maybe curious, who haven't, not sure what it is. This is a chance to just feel like curiosity. You don't have to know what you want to work towards. You don't have to be sure you want to work with someone. People don't understand coaching is different than other paradigms where you actually, before you work together, you have a consultation to make sure you should work together. Right? It's a good fit, is what those needs are, what I can support in. If not, who else can support it, because it's a different kind of coach or different kind of provider, or maybe a combination, right? It's really different than, you go to a dentist, they're there already working, right? You go to a doctor, we're already poking you around, right? This is a little different. It really allows that curiosity to flourish. And something Miriam mentioned last week with her personal experience was, besides not knowing what coaching is, I think seeing what a wide range of areas that coaching can impact. Some people are familiar with financial or leadership coaching. They know about well-being coaching. There's so much specifics here. And, in the room here, all three of us have done a wide range of things we've worked in. So I'll say anyone who's curious, I'll say one of my clients told me, curious what you, Erinn and Shelby, think. I had a client one time and she goes, "Oh, sorry, Diego. That's not a coaching topic. It's not a well-being topic." And I challenged her. I was like, "Can I pause you?" I was like, "If you're thinking about it, it goes through your brain. Your brain's a really important part of your mental health." So in that sense, I can't think of a topic that's not related to your well-being in some way. Any thoughts on this, either Erinn or Shelby? And I'm being very broad on purpose here.
I'd love to
Yeah.
hear your thoughts, Shelby.
Well, yeah, I love that. I think what came to mind to me is really about how, as coaches, we don't have to be experts in every single topic and area of health and wellness, if we're a health and wellness coach, or mental health, or a mental health coach, or leadership, or executive, organizational coaching. We just have to listen to our client and help them to begin to start to self-discover, what is inside them. The solutions are within each of us in terms of optimal performance, what our goals are, what our strengths are, but often they get buried, I think, in the noise of life and just our daily, daily efforts to kind of navigate and survive in kind of a complicated world. So yeah, I think just, knowing that if you're working with a coach, there's really nothing, I don't think, that too much that, other than, of course, like the therapeutic realm. Like a coach would not provide therapy, of course, or we wouldn't provide medical advice, diagnoses of any kind, food plans, things like that, unless we were working specifically with a physician on nutrition. But yeah, but generally speaking, we can really help in many areas of life. And yeah.
Yeah. And to your point, Shelby, to the good call and scope of practice, right? That what we do and we don't do is part of that discovery call. Because some coaches also have multiple roles. People who are dietitians and coaches, right? And also when we talk about therapy is a big question, like therapy versus coaching, right? I'll say you can have a therapist and a coach, right? They're not mutually exclusive. They can work in different realms, and you can have clients who have mental health diagnoses or have physical diagnoses, and doesn't mean you can't still support them as long as you understand your scope of practice and what you're supporting them in.
Mm-hmm.
right? So example, I had a therapist before referred to me to work on someone's physical movement because we know for depression, it's physical movement is really great. So we worked on those behaviors that would support that person's mental health,
Mm-hmm.
right? I have a
Exactly.
client who had bipolar or has bipolar. When he's not in his manic phase, we work on his work, his organization, right, his well-being in general. So I also want to say you can. It's not an all or none. It's like you just know how you're supporting someone and maybe combining them to understand their other parts of the well-being. What is the dietitian telling them? What is the therapist telling them? What is the prior telling them? The coach can also help put those things together as well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Integrative and holistic is an approach that can be really powerful because of that ability to create more of a network of support. So rather than having only one source of support or having one resource or one perspective, we have multiple. And
Mm,
I will share that the majority of people over the years that I've worked with, I would say at least over half of them are also working with some sort of medical professional, whether it's a physician or a psychiatrist or a therapist of some sort. And a lot of times I work collaboratively with their other care providers.
Mm-hmm.
And the client that I'm working with will then feel a greater sense of support because now suddenly they've got a team or at least a
mm,
partnership supporting them. So I think it's a really important point that
Mm-hmm.
that's being brought up here. Um, Not only is it not mutually exclusive, in fact, it's quite the opposite. It's really mutually inclusive
mm,
and really well integrated. And particularly in this application that we're talking about for the LA wildfire relief and that community, you mentioned about the first responders, the care providers. There there are many levels of impact. So there are people who are in the more critical or physical aspects of it, and there is a much wider ripple effect to everyone to know who knows those people or who is part of that area. And so people might be wondering, well, how could coaching help somebody in that situation? That's a great question. Join in and find out.
Mm-hmm.
Ask that question.
right.
There's that curiosity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Shelby. I didn't mean to cut you off. You're going to say something, Shelby?
No, no, thank you, Erin. I was just really taking that in. I agree. I mean, back to your point earlier, though, I was thinking about how coaching and, say, a therapeutic, like a therapy, if we're looking at health and well-being coaching, at Headspace, we've done a lot of research because we do offer mental health coaching, therapy, and psychiatry. And how coaching alone is very efficacious in many subclinical realms, right? And we get really good outcomes. And therapy, of course, too. But when we combine therapy and coaching, the outcomes are even higher
Mm.
for many people.
I wonder if you have certain, data points or statistics on that. That'd be
Mhm.
really interesting
Yeah.
to see that.
Yeah, no, we do. We definitely have research I can share out.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that synergistic effect you mentioned, mutually inclusive. Like I was thinking synergies. You mentioned that, right?
Mm.
Another thing
Mm.
I've heard is like how coaching is a dose-dependent response. Kind of means the more dose you give, the more response there is. Which kind of makes sense. The more you
Mm.
work on yourself, the more you get to work on yourself, the better you get, or the more you get to where you want to go. Not saying better or worse, right? And so all these things are different kind of touch points, and even thinking about from the client perspective, how having different kind of relationships, different kind of people that use that
Mhm.
support you, they all might add something different, and maybe the settings in where you're supported can also be different as well. Because I often
Mhm.
thought, in
So true.
healthcare, I can go sit on the bed with you, talk softly, do all the things that should be done for good communication. But listening when you're in a hospital and all these things going off and you're nervous, you're not sure the results are coming back, or your kid is sick, right? No matter what the provider is doing, this could be also an environmental or
Yeah.
component to this as well. So having different environments, maybe
Mhm.
okay, I'm gonna actually, Diego, last day I talked to my therapist yesterday. I'm thinking now today a little more about what she said, right? And these other areas allow this work to really play off each other and act
Mhm.
synergistically, right? That it's not just what to do, but how to do it as well, and how different perspectives can be gained from more than one kind of type of work.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we all just need to ask for help when we need it and not be afraid to, and really have a cadre of support in our lives, right? We, hopefully have friends and family and maybe coworkers and maybe a therapist, maybe a coach, maybe someone in the community, a neighbor, even acquaintances can support our mental health. Yeah, so I just really, yeah, encourage people to not be afraid to ask for help. It can be really hard to ask for help and to say, yeah, I would like to learn more about coaching or therapy, or I just want someone to listen to me. That's not easy to do. And I
Yeah.
want to encourage everyone to be brave, use your strength of bravery that we all have inside us, and just really know that there are people out here that really want to help and support you.
Mm. It's it's an interesting point that you're bringing up about asking for help, and I wonder, can we look at asking for help as an expression of strength,
Hmm.
and that it in fact may not always be in a time of need or distress. Certainly, we are offering it as a form of relief right now for a traumatic event, and at the same time, what about asking for, what if you're in a situation in your life that is really pretty sweet and you're feeling
Hmm.
great? And so it's a different type of ask, it's a different type of help. Help me maintain this.
Hmm.
Mm.
Can you help me sustain what's working? And that's another major piece of what I work with a lot of my clients in is, you know, this isn't about there's something wrong with me. This isn't
Hmm.
about my life isn't in a good place and I need help getting into a better place. It can very much be about, you know what? Things are great. I have a great relationship with myself. I'm satisfied with my life and I'd like to sustain this. Can you help me
Hmm.
make this sustainable? And so there are so many ways of perceiving an outreach for help, and
Mm.
it's important to recognize that it is actually a form of insurance or self-care or foresight even, but
Hmm.
certainly is an expression of strength as much as it
Hmm.
might be an expression of vulnerability. Mm.
Hmm. Yeah.
That was beautifully put.
Yes.
Yeah, it reminds me that kind of coaching spans the whole spectrum. I think the Travis wellness continuum, right? So it's kind of from
Mhm,
like sick, neutral to healthy.
mhm,
It's more about not about where you are, but which direction you're facing,
Hmm.
right? If you're in the ICU bed, but you're not moving your finger to get a little better, versus or you can be really great, you're that amazing, you want to get that little percent better or different or just maintain, right? It's about the
Hmm.
direction that you're facing, and that the beautiful part of coaching is it can span all of that. It can
mhm,
span the kind of traditional sick care, kind of need more support model, to also the well-being
Hmm.
part.
mhm,
Yeah.
It's okay, you're discharged. Now what? Can you be fulfilled?
Hmm.
Right.
No,
And so yeah,
absolutely.
and what Shelby mentioned about bravery, I will say too something that came up with some friends of mine, that someone said, "Oh, I don't want to be afraid, I want to be brave." And I was like, "Can I challenge that?" I think bravery requires fear.
Hmm.
When I'm not afraid of heights, so when I fly, it's not very brave of me to fly. I know friends who are afraid of heights. When they go on a flight, that's bravery.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So actually normalizing that bravery requires uncomfortableness or fear or some
Mhm.
uncertainty there. And it's a normal part of it, and it shouldn't be viewed as a sign of, oh, this is bad, don't do it, which our
Mhm.
brain can often trick us into.
Yes.
Yeah.
We could have a whole discussion on that neuroscience of that, right, Diego?
Yeah, and maybe
I
it's
love
for
that.
maybe for next week we'll
Mhm.
continue on. We're gonna have Shelby back on next week, but in the meantime, let's wrap up. I guess I want to orient everyone who's listening on how to both the clients sign up and also any providers who's curious to sign up. Before I kind of do a little wrap up, any last minute words, Erinn or Shelby? And as I do, please correct me if I'm missing anything during my summary at the end.
I would
Erinn?
offer just whoever is listening and is curious,
Mhm.
or knows somebody who might be curious to benefit in some way, shape, or form, please do join us and discover what coaching might offer to you, and we'll be here for you.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. I totally agree. And then if you're a provider and you're just curious as well, and maybe you're not available on the 27th, but like we were speaking earlier, just sign up and we'll be in touch for any future events. Um, and I'd really love to, Diego, that you're creating this community of coaches and providers who really want to give back, of course, but through that, look at the relationships like that just the
Mm.
three of us have formed just by saying, "Hey, I want to help. I don't know what I can do, but let's put our heads together." And I think that's so beautiful about what Vibely's doing, allowing coaches to come together as coaches and professionally to meet each other and form new relationships.
Mm,
Thank you, Shelby. It gave me goosebumps because I was thinking about
mhm.
actually. Erinn was at my apartment a few weeks ago, and she was
Mhm.
in town, and we
Oh,
had what a beautiful conversation for so many hours. And had it not been for our wanting to give back, and Shelby, we haven't hugged in person yet, but I know at the conference we will. I feel like I know you already, and
I
very
know.
grateful for both of you, all your wisdom, all the effort you're putting in, and to this collaborative effort. Like I said at the beginning, it really is a dream come true to do this. I hear awesome ideas, but no one was putting them together sometimes. And so this is
Mhm.
like, again, couldn't be happier to have people be fulfilled, fulfilling others and serving others. And so, as a summary to anyone listening who's curious, so if you're a person who might be curious about coaching or therapy, not sure where it is, I'll give some info. It's all linked there here. But if you're listening on one of our other platforms, I'll spell it out. In general, if you're ever curious, you can email me Diego, Diego, at vibly.io, Vibly.io, about any needs about, in the future or now, and we can connect you that way if you don't find the links that are underneath here. If you're a provider, right, hopefully you can make it to the 27th. But like I said, if you can't and you're just curious, also email us, Diego at vibly.io, or use one of the provider links on the bottom of this episode to sign up for this event. And if you can't make it, say, hey, I love to, but I can't make it that day. I still want to be open for that pool. Let us know.
Mhm.
Lastly, if you are someone who knows communities for support, we're hoping this episode is just an example to give people ideas of what could be done.
Mhm.
Right, like Erinn said, flexible. A structure that's there, but really flexible and then creative afterwards. So it doesn't have to be a whole big city like LA. It could be a three-person
Mhm.
reading club in your local library,
Mhm.
right? Because of the variety of range of providers that we have and we have access to, a lot of them want to give back in their way. That's right. So
Mhm.
be creative. Message me, message us, and then let's see what we maybe in a few months we have another podcast episode about some new product that came up because of this effort. So
Yeah.
teamwork really does, as cheesy as it is, make the dream work. I'm really honored to be working alongside some amazing people, both of you, but everyone else behind the scenes who wasn't on today's episode,
Yeah.
all the
Thank
providers who
you.
are signing up. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And what we're doing at Vibely, if you're a provider, when you sign up, put in the word Healing Spaces 20
Mhm.
when you sign up. It's going to let us know you're part of this effort. Besides making sure you have free use of the platform during your engagement, however long that is. If
Right.
it's a 2-month engagement, you'll get 2 months of that free. Just let us know. And if you decide to, we want to give back to you by offering more discounts on the platform, should it be a good fit for you. And if it's not, let us know how we can improve, because we just love learning and improving. So that will wrap up here. Shelby and Erinn, thank you so much, not only for being here today, but from all the work we've been doing last few months and what's coming up the next few weeks. Very, very grateful for these moments, opportunities. So thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you, Diego and Erinn. So good to see you here. We would be
So
here with
much
you.
gratitude to both of you and our entire community. And we look forward to supporting everyone who's out there ready to join in.
Mhm.
We'll see you all on April 27th from 12 to 3 p.m. Pacific time. Take care, everyone.
Bye for
Bye. Thank
now.
you.